Alrighty, Sunday morning. Live, number 6, Sunday morning. Anybody out there? I wonder. Don't see anybody yet. Well, I hope I did this all right this week. So this is 0 watching. Oh, there you guys are. Popping into the chat thing. Bosnia. What's up, Bosnia? And Indonesia. Texas. Any more satchel stories? Not really. That dude was just a monstrous guitar player even when he was 17 years old. That's the only thing I remember. But, I mean, first time I saw him was shocking how good he was. Just kind of built to play guitar, I guess. Good morning, says Jake. What's up, Jake? Where am I from? I'm from Edmonton, Canada. Grew up in Edmonton. And been in LA a long time, though. Hi from Greece. What's up, Greece? Love Greece. Haven't been there for a while. Last time was 10 years ago, 2007. And David Friedman is here. What's up, Dave? Somebody asked Dave questions. Good old Dave. Are you back in town, Dave? Did you come back yet? I think so. I think you got back Friday. We got Torrance. Rig rundown, somebody says. Dave's actually, to tie it all in, he's rebuilding my pedal board. So I'm having it done now. And I'm making 3 videos about the new board, which is fun. Actually, Dave, just so you know, if you're out there listening, I editing one. I should be ready to go this week with it. So so the first one where we kind of tear the old board all apart and then starting to get the new one together. It's actually quite far along now. It's almost done, I think. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of folks online already, so I'm going to back up here in the chat a little bit. It's cool. Okay, Eric says he finally made one of these. What's up, Eric? Thanks for joining. And Mike's in Motown. What's up, Detroit? Holland. Good to see you guys. I think last week what happened was because I had this chat set private when I first started it, nobody got a notification. And then I set it, like, within the program, I set it to public. And then it was just, like, not as many people online. Because I noticed it was not as well attended last week. But I think it was a technical glitch on my... Still figuring it out. But I think I did everything right this week. Except when the fan's kicking in on my computer right now. This Wirecast program I use to do this, it's kind of, I don't know, it works, but it makes my computer not go to sleep. So my computer, like, if I leave it open, no, this isn't interesting, but I'll just tell you real quick. If you can hear the fan right now, it makes the fan run on my computer all the time, and also keeps my computer from going to sleep even when I close the lids. And I'll come to open up my computer in the morning, and it's like burning hot, which can't be good. And I think it's the program I'm using to do this thing. So anyway, enough about that. I'll figure out another way. Sweden, what's up, Sweden? And Connecticut, Argentina. God, this is awesome. Austria. People from all over the place. And Ireland. Super cool. So I wanted to say it was a slow week for, Alberta. Wow, cool. Hello, homie. I wanted to say that I don't even think I put out a video of any sort on YouTube this week, but I've been working on my record, that's why, and I promised myself I would do it. Been working on some videos and stuff too, but just my output hasn't been what it normally is because I'm actually recording, so I'm really excited about it. By the end of the day, I'll have 3 songs completely finished, I think. And my goal is by next Sunday or Monday to have 6. And then by the 15th of December, I'd love to have 7. If I can get that going, then I think I'm on track to get it out in January. I'd love to put it out like right at NAMM. Diana says she's plugged in a 1974 Marshall Super Lead. Oh my God. Yeah, they're crazy, right? It's good times. Too loud, but it's like riding a bucking bronco. Good times. And we got UK, Cincinnati, Vancouver, super cool. And Japan, I will see you soon, really soon. Looking forward to it. Okay, trying to move up in the chat here. Let's see, there's a couple questions. Have I ever tried different preamp tubes in the PT100? That's a good question. Because of preamp tubes being so unreliable, sometimes they ship with a JJ in position 1. I'm not crazy about the JJ tubes, but the 12x7s are quieter and less prone to microphonics, and Dave could attest to this. But 12x7s, especially in higher gain amps, are problematic. So the only tubes that I've tried in it are basically the Chinese and the JJ, and I prefer it to be loaded all with the Chinese tubes. They just sound better to me. It's debatable whether new old stock tubes in new production amplifiers that are built to work with new tubes. I don't know. And also in amplifiers with a lot of gain in the front end, you would think that it would make sense that it would be like tubes would be more of an issue than like what tubes you pick would affect the tone more. But that's not actually my experience. I find I hear the difference in tubes less in sort of modern amplifiers than I do in old school, like simpler circuit designs that have less gain. So I don't know what that's all about, but like I can hear it definitely in old Marshalls and stuff like that. When you switch tubes out, there's subtle differences. But I think as long as they're tested and quiet and not microphonic, I think that loading the PT with all Chinese in the front end is a good bet. I've never really felt much desire to let's stick old Mullards in. I mean, the thing's got a lot of preamp tubes, so it's like, where do you start? And I don't know. It's not something that I've gotten into with that particular amp. I do like in my SL68, and I've got like a Amprex in V1 in the first slot, and a Mullard in the second slot, and then just a Sovtech LPS long plate tube in the phase inverter. And I like that combo a lot. Amprex are some of my favorite old tubes. I think I like them more than Mullards. The Bugle Boys, I don't know that much. There's different eras of them and stuff, but the ones I've got, I guess, are probably like 60s. And sounds really good in my SL68. They just sound really full. That's what I notice. Okay, Belland asked Dave why he called his amp the Runt. I'm gonna guess it's because it's kind of like the I don't want to say it's his entry level amp, but it's like the run of the litter. It's like the little one, still totally badass and stuff like that. But I'm only guessing on that. I can't comment for him. It's kind of like the little brother to the BE and those amplifiers. Okay, I'm gonna go back in the chat here. Let's see, and from Dominican Republic. Oh, Dominican, what's up? I was down there once, 2004, I think. I was in the Dominican Republic, only for like 2 days, but it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. Denmark? Cool, cool, cool. Jonathan says, I'm Canadian, no wonder I'm so nice. Thank you. I hope I'm nice. Yeah, Canadians are supposed to be, we're born and bred to be polite. Music and Game says, Axe effects for live gigs or pedal board. Well, depends on the gig. I've used both, depending. The Axe effects served me really well on a couple of tours, where I couldn't bring my full rig and had to fly with stuff and all that kind of stuff. Keep the budget low, so it's like, fine, I'll use the Axe effects. I used the Axe effects on a tour with Melissa Etheridge, where I've used it direct with no sound on stage at all or anything like that, just with in-ear monitors. And then I've also used it doing the thing where you run one set of outputs to a speaker cabinet, and then the other set of outputs has speaker simulators on, and it goes to the rest of the monitors in front of house and stuff like that. And then I would just rent a cabinet, like a Marshall or whatever. And I did a whole run like that, and that worked really well too. They can be good. I love pedal boards though, and amps. No secret, right? I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's just nice having everything there with the knobs right at your feet and having your various pedals, and it's fun, Okay, that's it. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like with pedal boards, it's like you can get a multi-effects pedal board, and they're making some great ones now. And you know, things like the Helix and stuff, they do a really, really good job. And there's still something fun about having the individual pedals, and it's all modular. And it's the same reason people like modular synths and stuff. You can switch things out and try different things, and it's just fun, you know. And there's knobs right there that you can turn, and they're like different colors, you know. So it's just kind of fun. I don't think that'll ever go away for guitar players. What strings am I using lately? Tim says, that's a good question. I switched a little while ago to the RPS Ernie balls, and the reason is because I noticed ball ends on one particular guitar I have. For some reason, it must be the way the tailpiece is. The string would break at the ball end, and I never break Ernie ball strings. They're awesome. And on most guitars, just the regular Ernie balls work fine, but I started getting a little paranoid, especially on this one guitar. So RPS are reinforced plain strings, and Ernie Ball originally made the RPS strings for Kahler tremolos because the way the ball end would sit in the Kahler, and then the string would kind of come across this cam and go over a roller saddle, and where it broke out of the where the string would break, but also where the angle would break over this cam, the string would rub right there, and that was right where the winds are on the string. And then your string would pop like right at the ball end, and it was like, you know, all strings would do it if you put them on a Kahler. It was bad. So Ernie Ball came up with this RPS thing where they just used a coating that kind of went around the ball end and around the wind to protect it. And so it just makes that part of the string stronger. So they still make them, and I figured, like, well, let's try that, because I was having problems on this one particular guitar with the Tune-O-Matic and the stop tailpiece, and the E string would just pop. So I got the RPS and problem solved. And so I've just been ordering them ever since, because it's like, well, why not have a stronger string for all your guitars? Seems to make sense. So Jello Man just asked a similar question about strings and picks. So that's my strings. And then and he's asking how often I restring my guitars. God, I hate restringing guitars, but when I absolutely have to. It's amazing on my signature model how fast I can actually restring that guitar with the locking tuners and the Sur bridge. As you guys know, with Surs, you can just like, you can restring a guitar in like 10 minutes. But I'm so lazy about it. But then when I do it, I'm like, oh my God, it sounds so much better. I don't have like real acidic sweat or anything like that, so strings will, but I'm probably just average in that respect. So I burn out a set of strings generally like after a week or two. Like, I'm talking in the studio, they tend to start to not sound as good, and then I just leave them on way too long generally. What was I going to say? But live, I like to change them, especially if I have like one guitar I'm playing live and I kind of use it a lot. Like, I don't want to go more than 3 gigs on a guitar without changing the strings, generally speaking. Because I just hate that. I like to be able to play freely without worrying about breaking them. Like, be able to do, like, you know, minor third bends and stuff. And my picks are Altex 73s. Been using those forever. I just got comfortable with them, and I like them. Sometimes I switch it up though and try different ones. I've got a whole bunch of like Jazz 3s and, you know, different ones Dunlop sent me, like John Petrucci ones and stuff. It's just fun to try different ones when you're recording. Go, this one is cool. Strymon Timeline, is it worth buying? Strymon Timeline's awesome. It's just such a good pedal. I've used it for years, and that said, on my new board, I'm actually trying a Boss DD500 instead, which Dave kind of talked me into actually. But it does sound really good. It's super easy to use, and I just wanted to try something else because it's like, well, life's short, so try something else. You can always go back to the Strymon. So I'm going to try the DD500 on my new board. Still got the Mobius on there and stuff though, because it's just great. But I would say, so your question is it worth buying? Absolutely. I mean, it's a really, really good delay. You know, you can also use an H9, or you can use there's a whole bunch of them out there now. I know Dave likes the Free the Tone one. You know, similar size delay, but it's a little simpler than a Timeline, I guess. But the Timeline's a classic at this point. I mean, it just works so good. Somebody says, William says, do you use a pedal for your distortion or rely upon amp gain? I usually use amp gain. That's why with the PT100, it's you know, 3-channel amp, and I'm really, really adamant about the gain. So I just like amp gain. I mean, as John Suhr says it, you can't get a pedal to do what an amp does that's running at super high, just the voltage and everything. It's like, no pedal is ever going to sound quite like an amp. That said, there's some great ones out there now that do sound great. So, I used the channel 2 as my main distortion sound, and it's basically kind of like you know, Plexi meets JCM 800 sort of modded to perfection. That's what it sounds like to me. Always sounds great. And then on channel 1 of my amp, I do use overdrive pedals for alternate overdrive or distortion sounds. So I use a Jan Ray. To me, I do use it for kind of a softer, kind of tweedy kind of overdrive. So like Stonesy, kind of like just, you know, or to just play single lines that I don't want to be heavily distorted, but I want them to have nice fat mids with some sustain. The Jan Ray is great for that. And then I've used a bunch of other pedals like the Analog Man King of Tone or the Rage E from Vemoram, which is really, really nice distortion pedal that not many people know about. What else? Wagner Blue. On the new board, I'm putting the Trainwreck Ethos pedal. So the Ethos, they have a version of a, I gotta learn the name of the pedal, but it's like their version of a Trainwreck kind of sound in a pedal, and it just sounds so good. It's real gainy and smooth sounding. It sounds really cool. So I'm going to try that on the new pedal board. It's nice and small. It even has cabinet simulation in it, like the Ethos pedal, like their other pedal does, the Ethos Clean or whatever it's called. Has a switchable cabinet simulator in it. So in theory, I thought, well, I could like put this thing on my pedal board and then actually just probably plug my pedal board right into a console or something like that if worse came to worse, and just use the board and use the Ethos as kind of the amp, you know. So because it's got cab sims in it, kind of neat. Okay. Daniel says, bought Thornbuckers. Thanks for putting those out. My favorite pickups. Awesome. I love them too. I got a great tone in this. I'm putting up a video today. Yeah, I'll put it up today, probably 2 p.m. Just gonna edit it and finish it. What's it for? I'm spacing on the pedal. Okay, it'll come to me. What did I do all day yesterday? I worked on a video for this pedal. Oh, the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. Really nice sounding clonish pedal with a 3-band EQ, like a lows, mids, and highs. Anyway, got a really cool tone with, and I thought, God, the pickups are just like, you can add so much gain using a pedal like that into my my amplifier. And then it was playing on the neck pickup, and it just sounded so clear and cool. Anyway, I'm glad you're happy with the pickups. I still really love them too. They're just terrific. It's 4 a.m. in Korea. It says, oh, that's true. So somebody was on from Japan. Man, you guys are dedicated if you're watching me at this time over there. I appreciate you being here. I do. What's my favorite riff of all time? Man, I really have to think about that. So many good ones. I don't know. I have to think about it. I kind of like when April Wine combined Satisfaction and Day Tripper in one song. That was pretty cool. They took 2 great riffs and put it together to make a hybrid, awesome riff. That's some Canadian stuff for you right there. Let's see. Do I change picks based on what I'm using? Yeah, I think you're saying, like, do I use a different pick for different sounds? I do sometimes, yeah. And certainly for acoustic guitar, like, actually the Ultec 73s that I use are great kind of as an all-around. You can use them on acoustic and on electric. But sometimes for acoustic in the studio, I like really light picks. It almost acts like a built-in compressor or something. Like, you don't get as much dynamic variation. You can kind of lay into the strings more, but because the pick is lighter, there's not as much variation in the dynamics, and you don't hear the pick as much, I find, which can be nice on acoustic if you're just trying to get like a strummy thing to sit in a track, in the track nicely. So that's a time when I will use a different pick. Also, I have these Sur picks they've been making that they make out of this stuff, and I think they're similar to those, what are they called, Red Bear or something like that, where they're like, let's see if I got it sitting here. I think I got it over here. So occasionally they make these out there, and I don't know what this material is, but it lasts a really, really long time, and it takes a long time to make these. They're like made out of something, you know, and they cut, I don't know how they do it on the CNC or something like that, but they're like super hard, and they just have a really, really solid, positive kind of tone, like, you know, accurate, like, I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, it's just occasionally I have one of these, so I don't want to lose it. Occasionally I use those, and nice for, you know, single note stuff mainly. I just find sometimes when the pick doesn't give it all and it's really solid, or like use a Jazz 3 or something, it's hard to play. Like, how does anybody play funk with a Jazz 3? Or anything that's kind of rhythmically, you need a bigger pick. It's like Stevie Ray Vaughan used to use I don't think he used the triangle picks. He used the regular picks, but with them turned around in the big end, which is also another interesting thing to try. Ever try that? Like, so Stevie Ray, I believe, played a Fender style pick, but he turned it around and used this end to kind of, and the big end to hit the string. It has a different sound, really cool sound. Sort of like softer, like bigger note, less sort of plucky pick attack. What about the AX8? Somebody says, Angel says that. So I've got it sitting over here, and I've been using it in the mornings, just kind of messing around with it. It's really cool. I like it so far. I like the simpleness of it, actually. I think it's a little more my speed, like maybe over the rack mount version of the Axe FX. It's just a little easier when you get the knobs right there. Everything probably everybody else likes about it. It's just simple. So it's pretty cool. Okay, let's see. I like that Dave's getting lots of questions in here. Somebody's asking if the Buxom boost works well with a high gain amp. I think Dave kind of designed it actually to work quite well with a high gain amp. Partially, one of the things that it's got the tight knob on it, which when you're boosting into the front end of an amplifier, it can be really helpful. If it's either a treble boost or a mid-range boost, but not like full-range boosts. They've got a thing, and they can be cool, like a micro-amp style, just clean boost in front of an amp. Can be cool. But especially in an amp that has, full bottom end, vintage-style amp, something like that, you're just going to kind of blow up the whole amplifier the more you push into the front end. If you're pushing bass in there as well, like kind of all frequencies evenly. So, with the Buxom boost, one of the things that he did on it with the tight knobs on there, so you can kind of filter out bass as you're boosting more, and that really helps with high gain amps to keep things tight. So you can kind of control the tightness of the boost as you're adding gain. It's always a balance with amps and gain with how much bass you're pushing through the preamp. The more bass you push through there, and as you're adding distortion, it starts to blow it up, and it's not as tight feeling. It can make single notes sound really full, though. So it's like it's a balance between, you don't want your single notes to sound too thin and kind of screechy. It's just a balance, especially when you're designing amps. I think like how much bass you build into the front end of the amp. If it's a gainy amp, you have to be careful, or you can get kind of just not tight, and then it can be too thin too. Okay, enough about that. Can I recommend a good IR loader for Logic? I use, somebody's using Wallace Sound and they're finding it glitchy. So what I use is what's it called? Redwires. A company called Redwires has it, and it's the Mix IR2. It's called. And in Mix IR2, what's really cool is in one instance of the plugin, you can load up so many different IRs and then just blend them. There's little volume controls and pan pots and things. And you can load really long ones in there, and it works great. It's like really well-designed plugin. So I just use Mix IR2 from Redwires. It's $50, I think, and it works great. Just an IR loader. There's no cabinet sounds. You have to, load up your own IRs in there. But then it's kind of nice, easy to kind of navigate file hierarchy thing where you can easily get to your cabinets and stuff and pull IRs into the plugin, and then, it's nice. I'd like to design one, actually. There's a plugin company out there I'd love to kind of work on, because I use them so much that it's like I've got thoughts on ways to do it. So there's 318 people online. That's pretty cool. How do I stay healthy with all the touring? Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been touring that much. I mean, I've been doing these... The types of gigs I've done the last few years are the foreign gigs, where I was in France, I was in Japan, I'm going to go back to Japan, but it's not like what I was doing, 4 or 5 years ago. So my last touring gig before starting to do the foreign-based gigs was Melissa Etheridge, and Melissa, she's a cancer survivor, and she's very health conscious, and so she's constantly, on a specific diet and stuff like that. So we had catering out on that tour that was like, everything was organic, and it was like vegan options and gluten-free options and all that stuff at every meal all the time. So that was great. And, just not really that hard when you've got like people cooking for you that with, health in mind every day. So that was great. And then the next gig I did after that was with Mylène Farmer in France, and we had like amazing catering as well, like this French catering company that just did these beautiful. I mean, it sounds like, you know, pretty deluxe, and it was. It was like super nice, like spread of salads every day, like an entire huge table full of like, you know, and then there'd be like 3 or 4 like entree options every day, and this is like every meal, like lunch and dinner. You're sort of on your own for breakfast. In Japan, I find it really easy to eat. Food's just healthy over there, and I eat a lot of sushi and stuff, so you know, it's not hard. It's a great country for food. So just to be honest, like the last, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9, like yeah, when you're in, you know, I've also done lots of the van tours and stuff where you're like, but I was younger, you know, so it's like you can beat yourself up a little bit more then. The last 10 years have been pretty nice for staying healthy. And then you just gotta walk like crazy when I'm on the road, like just leave the hotel and go out and wander around cities and wear out pairs of shoes. You know, that's one of the things I'd love to do, is just kind of not like have an agenda, but just get out of the hotel and just walk and see what you find. So I do a lot of that, and generally say I feel pretty good on the road. So, and the other thing is that touring in Europe and in Japan is so easy, and Americans, we don't know, you know, in this country how kind of crappy we have it when it comes to travel. Like in Japan, you got the bullet train. In Europe, you've got trains going, sometimes fast ones too, going everywhere. So touring there is like showing up at the train station with your bag and like sitting on a train and traveling for 2 hours, and now you're in a completely different city because you just went 200 miles an hour on a train. You know, contrast that with the U.S. where you got to fly everywhere, and there's no trains, or you're on a tour bus. Tour bus living is good too, you know, in its own way, and I actually miss it. I do enjoy it, but it's like, generally speaking, the way that these artists that I've been playing with tour overseas is a lot of train travel, a lot of hubbing out of one city. So like if you're in France, you'll hub out of Paris, go out for a couple of days, do a gig, come back to Paris, stay in the same place that you were before. And in Japan, it's Tokyo, so it's like you're hubbing everywhere, and it's not that strenuous. It's like at all. It's actually really organized and relatively relaxed when it comes to travel. Okay, somebody's from Egypt. That's awesome. What's up? All the way, man. I don't think anybody's ever chimed in from Egypt, so good to see you here. Let's see, Detroit. Excellent. Okay, I should mention I visited Egypt once. I was there when I was 14, and I went to Alexandria and Cairo. I had a great time. I've got a picture of myself like by the pyramids on a camel. It was a really amazing trip. It was incredible to go to the pyramids, and it's I never pictured them. You know, all you see when you see photos of them is like you know, desert and these incredible structures, and it's like that's what you see. But I didn't realize we were driving there. We're going through Cairo, which is an extremely crowded, busy city. Driving through this, you know, just like buildings and people and chaos everywhere. And then all of a sudden it was like, wow, there they were, like, and they're kind of like right on the edge of the city, and that's my memory of it anyway. And the city just kind of stops right there, and all of a sudden you're at the Sphinx and the pyramids. It was really like kind of shocking to just come like right out of the city, and then boom, there's the site where everything is. It was really interesting. Hello from Switzerland. What's up, Switzerland? I love Switzerland. God, I was there last year a couple times in Geneva. Really fun. David says, thinking of putting EMG pickups in a gold top. I've got kind of I don't really understand EMG pickups that well. Like, so I have that gold bass, maybe you've seen me play like recently, that's a friend of mine's, and he's lending it to me, and it's got an EMG in it. It sounds awesome. Like, that bass just sounds incredible. So I know I like them in bass. I like the clarity and the punch and stuff of that bass. It's just like a piano. It sounds really good. It beats the crap out of my other bass. In guitar, I'm just not really. I'd love to try like the David Gilmour sort of thing, where you've got the the pickguard with the mid boost and the sort of options for tone shaping. I'd love to have one guitar with them, and for some reason, or maybe two, maybe something with humbuckers too would be nice. But they're not. No, I've always been a passive pickup kind of guy, I guess, generally speaking. But it's not like I've messed with them a lot. Do I use my Blackstar Fly 3 often. You mean the little amp? Yeah, it's sitting right over here. It's great. I mean, I like to put it by the TV over here and sit on the couch and just jam through it. It's cool. And great for hotel rooms, too. Actually, it makes me play guitar more. That's about as much as you can ask from any piece of gear. You know, just because it's so fun to sit there and get a nice, like, super low TV volume sound, just sit there on the couch or whatever. And, you know, simple. Oh, once again, the chat, skipping around. Joshua's asking about the Andy Wood telly, asking if it's worth it. Well, depends if you want that kind of guitar. I mean, it's a great guitar. Is it worth it? It's a Surzer, you know, exceptional guitars. It's an extremely unique guitar in that it's 24 fret with, you know, the Andy's pickups of choice and stuff like that, and it's kind of a, you know, if you want a telly but that like you can totally shred on, it's fantastic. Corey says 25.5 versus 24. I think you mean 24 3/4 scale. Is it tone or playability? It's both. So, you know, you get a little bit more slinky feel with the shorter scale, and it's not quite as snappy as well. It's got a slightly different sound, whereas the Fender scale, longer scale, 25.5, has a snappy kind of tone to it that I think is a big part of the Fender sound, actually. Do I own any acoustic guitars? Yeah, I have a whole bunch. I have a Martin and a Taylor and a TAC Mini and Gibson Sheryl Crow model. It's really cool. It's like a Sheryl Crow is like an old Gibson country western. That's what her model is, based on the country western from the 60s. And a few others. Let's see. Jennifer says, "Don't forget to thumbs up." I don't know what that means, Jennifer. You gotta tell me what that means. A good neck humbucker for a telly. Well, I'm going to say the Thornbucker. The Thornbucker is like my favorite neck humbucker because it's my pickup, but also because it's just so damn clear. So the nice thing is that I don't feel like it's sometimes with neck pickups. It's like especially when you're playing cleaner, if they're too hot or whatever, they just sound like mud. They can sound really good into gain, but you know, they don't work for anything other than that. I find you can't get a good, like, nice, like, or jazz kind of stuff. You can roll it down a little bit if it's dark. But I like clarity. I kind of like single coils. I love the power of humbuckers, but I like the tone of single coils. That's the reality of my sort of the way that I feel about tone. So it's nice to have both in one pickup, where you can, you know, kind of get the best of both worlds. Tone Chaser says he bought the BEOD based on my video review. Hear that, Dave? If you're still here. Do I ever play an SG? You know, I have an SG, and I always it's at my at a storage space, and I have to get it and use it because it's dumb. I haven't played. You guys have probably never seen it used in a video or whatever. I used it a lot with Chris Cornell for. I had it in this tuning that I had to do for My Wave and a couple Soundgarden songs with My Wave and Day I Tried to Live, which is a unique, you know, where you actually have to have certain string gauge on there and stuff, and the A string gets replaced by another 6th string, and the 3rd string gets replaced by a 2nd string, and so I think those strings are still on it from those days. That's how long that guitar's been sitting in storage, and I actually lent it to him once when he had a studio space that was sort of by my old storage. Anyway, long story, but I was like, why don't you take this thing, because it's got this the strings, it's set up for that tuning that you did those songs in, you know. And he was like, oh, okay. So I lent it to him, and then I don't know if he ever used it, but I have it back, and I should probably change the strings and stuff and get it set up. It also had the Gibson, the 498 whatever pickup in it, kind of a hot pickups. I was never crazy about those. I should put some Thornbuckers in it. Okay. Eric says, I spent 6 months on alternate, like he's saying I spent 6 months on alternate picking, and you're determined to get your alternate picking to speed after 18 years of playing. What do you recommend? Just honestly get like Steve Morse and Paul Gilbert videos and then practice them, the ones that came out in the 80s. Just use a metronome and try and one other thing you can do is minimal motion with your picking hand, like really try and not you know, not a lot of flailing around. And the faster you go, pick lighter. So it's lighter and less motion. It's kind of what it's all about. If this Rick Graham's another guy that, you know, oh my God, like that guy's technique is off the charts. So all his techniques, as far as picking, sweep picking, or alternate picking, or hybrid picking, I mean, he's got ridiculous flawless technique. But if you watch him play, he has almost, it's like no motion going on. You know, it's this incredible like efficiency of movement. So that's really, really important. I think is if you want to go faster, it makes sense that you don't want to, you know, if you want to move more, you have to keep your left hand fingers really close to the fingerboard, your right hand, you know, and then they've got to be perfectly synced. And the faster you go, kind of play lighter. You know, use a metronome. Watch some of Rick's videos and lessons and stuff. He's an otherworldly, incredible technique. Have you ever tried Duesenberg guitars? So touring with Chris Cornell, he had some, and Yogi had some too, and I liked them, and I should have got one back then. They were offering for like an artist price to sell me one once, and I didn't get one, and I kind of regret that. I should have gotten one because they're really nice. I like the Mike Campbell one. Yogi's was really cool. Chris's was cool too. He had a couple that I messed around with. Okay, somebody has a PRS Starla and an ESP Eclipse, and both of the neck pickups are muddy with drive. Is there any way to fix this without swapping pickups? Well, you can lower the pickup. That's always helpful. Just try a different height, and try lowering the bass side, you know, the heavy string side lower than the other side. So drop it down and see if that's helpful. That's the biggest thing you can do. If you ever get to meet Martin Miller at GitCon, yeah, I've known Martin for years actually. Martin used to play Sir, and I knew him back then. I guess it would be the first time I met him was kind of through the Sir guys. And he's a great guy, such a nice guy, and God, what a guitar player! He's a ridiculous, incredible guitar player. So I did see him at GitCon. Didn't get to hang with him a lot actually. He came in like about, I want to say he came in on the Thursday, like kind of later in the week. But it was great to see him. He's a ferocious guitar player. Let's see. James says he's in LA. He says his chops are rusty. And what do I recommend to kind of get back into it? Well, God, there's so much instructional stuff online now. Things, ways to get inspired. You know, you really just have to play. There's no substitute for just sitting down and playing. So whatever that means to you, you know, like getting out and playing gigs, or you know, practicing, looking at YouTube stuff. You know, there's so many videos. Check out Jam Track Central. They got so many great lessons. I've got stuff on there. A ton of guitar players have things on there. I just bought the Larry Basilio. It's called Finger Picking Masterclass, I think. I bought that. It's really good. So let's see. What else we got here? Resistive loads versus reactive loads. Is it possible to EQ a resistive load to make it sound like reactive load? Yes, to some degree. I've used like the output on a hot plate or on the Faustine, which is sort of reactive. Reactive up to a point. And so I use an MXR 10-band graphic to EQ the output of the load. I know it's cool. You know, definitely makes it sound better. You can kind of cut some low mids, boost up the lows a little bit more top end going around 4K, something like that, and you just kind of do that sort of mimic the impedance curve, I guess, is almost what you're doing. I'm just gonna grab more coffee. Hold on, don't go anywhere. I gotta wake up. Play pause. And we're back. Oh, wow, we got 355 people online. That's great. Somebody says, put my computer in an ice bucket. Yeah, exactly. It's like ridiculous that It gets so damn hot. I think it's the Wirecast program. Anyway, somebody else asked me if I tried the AX8. Yes, been using it and getting used to it and spending some time with it. I haven't had a ton of time because honestly, I've been working on my record and I'm going to go work. So there's 2 songs totally complete right now, and then later on today I'm going to go play a solo and finish another one. So there'll be 3 done by the end of the day. I'm cutting 2 more on Wednesday with Kurt Pescara on drums and bass, I think. And then I got another one I want to track. Maybe just, I don't even know if I want live drums on it. There's live drums on most of the record though. Blah blah blah. Anyway, yes, been using the AX8 a little bit, but been, if you want to say, distracted by my album. It's awesome. I think I'd maybe try the AX8 for tracking this song this week, another song on the record, and just like try and make all the sounds in it and see what I can come up with. That sounds like a future video or something. I made this song on my album with the AX8, and here's how I did it, or whatever. Seems like a cool thing to do. Is it worth putting Thornbuckers in a PRS SE? I think so. I've heard a lot of people put them in PRS guitars, and they're really happy with it. So if you feel like you want more clarity out of the guitar and a little bit more of a vintage output, or I'm not sure about the particular model guitar you have, but I think so. I've had good reports. Let's see here. What else? Another question about what I think about EMGs. Interesting. 2 questions on that. Just sort of talked about that a little while ago. I like EMGs in the bass I have, was what I was saying. It's awesome. And then I don't have a hell of a lot of experience with them beyond that. Like, other than going, oh, they sound kind of, thinking back in the day they sounded sterile, but maybe I should like revisit it and try them again. And the David Gilmour sort of pickguard thing appeals to me, having that in a guitar where you can have some of those options with the mid boost and stuff. Although I don't know if David uses them anymore, but I don't think so. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? When I record guitars in my home studio, am I close miking with an isolation cabinet, or do I place distance mics for room sound? So my studio isn't a home studio, actually. Like, I have a small setup here where I just use either Kemper, now I've got the X8 and the Helix here, and I I can do that, or I can do a load box setup in this studio, which is my home, and then my other one is actually in it's not in my home. So I can record loud cabinets there, and I have been experimenting with actually putting room mics back in the room, and it can sound really cool. The room actually sounds great, so I might try doing some more of that. Generally speaking, close mics, are the way to go, and then as far as but there's something to the distant miking thing that I'm starting to get more and more intrigued about. Just get some really cool sounds going. Montreal, what's up? Lancaster, hanging with the Amish. Excellent. Somebody's offering a suggestion to keep my computer from going to sleep. But my problem is actually that my computer won't go to sleep. So they're talking about a program called Caffeine to keep it from going to sleep. My computer, I'll close it, and I'll come back in the morning and it hasn't gone to sleep. And it's I actually have to physically I think just make sure Wirecast isn't open on my computer, because it seems to keep it from sleeping. Let's see. Is Dave Friedman going to run in and give me a whiskey? No. Not today. Too early. Too early for whiskey. Somebody else is saying OBS for streaming is good. I'll check that out. Okay. Let's see. Somebody's recommending the Rosen Digital Pulse IR loader, which is totally free, and they think it's great. I agree. I like the Rosen IR loader. The only problem with it is that it truncates at a certain, so if I load an IR in there that's out to 500 milliseconds, like some of the Celestions are, so the room mics in the Celestion IRs, if I put it in the Rosen, it noticeably truncates the rooms. It's not a huge deal. It works great for the close mics. It's a nice plug-in. Seems to work good, but that just bothers me. And with MixIR, I don't have any of those issues with the truncation. Truncation is when you cut off a file, right? So an IR is like a, it's like a wave file, and you can see the tail on it and stuff like that. And it takes more horsepower to have a longer IR. So in other words, that equates to like if you want more room sound in your IR. Some people don't think it's necessary. They think you can get the same thing out of a reverb or whatever, and that it's not really. But there's something kind of magical about, like, if you guys out there have experimented with IRs, try the Celestion IRs and try the rooms that they give you in each folder for every cabinet. Just try loading up the rooms in Mix IR2 and load the left and the right and hard pan them, and then just have the rooms on, and tell me it's not awesome. It sounds like you've got your cabinet in like an incredible room on the other side of the wall or something. Even with no close mics mixed in, it's fun to sit there and play just with the room mics back in the room. That's why I'm doing this, because I'm picturing like stereo Neumann mics back in a nice room in England where they did the IRs. But it's pretty special. It sounds great, and it really makes it sound and feel real when you start blending those rooms in. IRs are one thing when it's just the close mics. It's like, okay, it's really cool, it's speaker simulation, awesome. But especially for you guys that are like, if you're like Axe Effects users or Kemper users, and you're like, oh, I can't make it feel like my amp in the room, you have to try some of the, like, it's kind of, I think all the different the modeling units probably truncate to, what is it, 512 or 1024 or 2048 point IRs, which is like the length of the IRs in the units. None of them go out long enough to get like the 500 milliseconds of these, room mics that Celestion gives you. So you have to use a plug-in, I think, to do it. But just try using like your Kemper or Axe Effects or Helix or whatever you've got, running it into your DAW, and then loading up an IR in the DAW. And try turning on the. It's going to lend a realism that it's just pretty rad. Okay, let's see. Did I play the Hughes and Kettner Pure Tone while I was at GitCon? I think I did. I don't remember. Is that the really simple one that's just got like 4 knobs? I think I did. Oh, is somebody else from Egypt? Awesome. Love it. These people in Egypt watching. Smile, or is it Smile Music? Yeah, Smile Music from Egypt. What's up? Okay, I think, God, the chat is so tough because it skips back, and then I realize like I've already answered some of the questions. Anyway. Okay. What is my video recording setup? Basically, I have a couple of simple Sony cameras, that's it. I use a, remember the number of it's like a $750, Sony video camera. It's the A33 or AX33 or something. It's really simple. And then I have a, what's the other one? A6000, which is just like a DLSR or whatever style Sony camera that records video. That's what I've done most of my videos on for the last 2 years. And then I just got the other camera right before I went to GitCon, the video camera. So now I'm kind of using them together. And between the two of those, I don't think I need anything else. They work great. Okay. Looking for more questions. From Music is Win. Can I explain how we might achieve intergalactic oneness? What's up, dude? How are you? Nice to see you here. Had fun at GitCon. What Marshall did Duane Allman use? I think Duane used I want to say he used a 50-watt bass spec Marshall. I'm pretty sure. So that was the Duane Allman thing. But somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Have I tried Thornbuckers in any of my Strats? Yeah, I've got one in the white. Well, actually, I have in both my the one with the Floyd on it and also the white one, Sunburst and the white one. Both have Thornbuckers in the bridge now. Sound great. Try the Plus model in the bridge of an Alder body Strat style guitar. That's what I like. Any tips on how to tame an 18-watt non-master volume style Marshall to use in a live setting? I really dig the Fryette power station. As far as like a attenuation, it's not an attenuator really, it's technically a load and reamp, but that's the ultimate. that's out there right now, as far as I'm concerned, for like a live solution. You know, so it'll load down your amp, and it's got an adjustable reactive load in it, and then it's got a built-in 50-watt tube power amp that's rather flat, and you can just kind of turn the amp up to any level you want. So with the power station, you can, because it's got a 50-watt tube amp in it, and you're getting all the tone from your your source amp, you don't need to, I don't want to get out in the weeds here, but basically what you can do with the thing is you can make a 5-watt amp as loud as a 50-watt amp, or you can take an 18-watt amp or a 50-watt or 100-watt amp and turn it down to be quiet. So see, it's just kind of like makes your amps really, really usable and versatile. And I think they're about $600, so it's cheaper than some of the more expensive attenuators out there. Any collaboration with Tom Quayle? I love Tom. That dude's amazing. He can shred circles around me. But we just did that lesson. It's on my channel. That's it as far as collaboration goes, I think, for now. But I hope to see him again next year in Germany. Okay, God, so far back in the questions here, so I'm going to try and go faster. Have I tried any of Jesse Davies' pedals like the Duelist or his Fuzz? No, I haven't. I haven't checked out those yet. Okay, I got to move down in the questions. Sorry, just give me a second here. Oh, somebody says that on a recent Phil McKnight Live, his audience was asking for you to guest on his channel. We'd love to do that if Phil's out there, and I'd be happy to. Phil's a really, really nice dude, and I'd love to do something on his YouTube. Somebody's saying hi to Tyler from Music is Win. Yeah, somebody's confirming that Dwayne used a 50-watt bass model 1986 bass model. Marshall. They can sound great for guitar too. Alright, I just got completely screwed up in the chat here as far as questions go. So I'm sorry if I missed some of your questions. Okay. This is a good one. Somebody says, please answer mail from Romano Walter Tone E. You sent a month ago pedals. Okay, I'll look for that. 3 pedals. Did I get your pedals? So I'm not sure, dude. Send me another email, please. Just Pete Thorn at ymail.com. Hit me up with an email, and we'll figure out what's going on with your pedals. Let's see here. Anyone know where to get a 60s era reel-to-reel tape player serviced? There's probably places in LA. I would hit up Vintage King in LA and ask them what's a good repair place for old, you know, reel-to-reel style or multi-track style, you know, units. They would probably know. Vintage King will have somebody that they can hook you up with. What's my story when it comes to starting up session work? How do I start from nothing? Templates. So if I'm starting a song in the studio, it's really nice in your DAW to have a template set up, which means like, so you pull up a blank session, you know, that's got nothing in it, but I've got like some channel strips set up for recording guitar, some set up for bass, you know, with the right inputs and stuff, so that whenever the output of my reactive load is routed to one of the channels, and my Helix, which I use for bass a lot, is routed to one of the channels. And then I've got some of my favorite drum software programs that pop up on channels, so I can just pull up the drums and start to get a groove going really quick. So just streamlining the workflow is how I do it, really. So you don't have that busy work to, you don't want to be setting up your session from scratch every time. There's, you can make it easier on yourself. Sort of like point A to point B. You know who really has it figured out is Tim Pierce, as far as like also just his guitar routing and all his amps are on. When you see him in his studio, he can hit any one of those amps. It's all on a switcher. So he just turns the dial and selects the amplifier that he wants. His effects are all right there, and he can do just kind of like, within 30 seconds he can be dialing in a sound. Oh, I need this kind of sound. He picks the amp, effects, boom, 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 and then he's got it, like right there. So whatever that means as far as like streamlining your system and your setup. That really helps with keeping the flow going, the inspiration, and all that. Let's see. How to make music a living. Hell if I know. I don't know, really. Although there's more ways that you can do it now than ever. And it's not the same as it used to be, but there's ways to do it. You know, the YouTube thing, or you know, online lessons through places like Jam Track Central and stuff like that. Selling your music online. You can reach the whole world now. So, you know, when you can reach the whole world and you can sell music, although not that many people are buying it anymore, it's like through things like, you know, this, like I just did this video on DistroKid last week or the week before. You know, you can record a song at home now and upload it and have it up on iTunes and Amazon and all that stuff within 24 hours. So, you know, there's sort of with the technology and the stuff that's available now to record, and then the ability to reach the whole world. I mean, look at this thing that we're doing right now, you know, with all you guys from all over the world. It's like you can reach people, you know, I don't need anybody on a Sunday morning. I just turn on this computer and talk to folks in Egypt and then all over the place. It's incredible that we can do this. So it's like, with that comes opportunities for you to, you know, make music and get it out to people and kind of reach the whole world with, you know, maybe you want to teach, maybe you want to write your own music, do sessions all over the world, you know. If you're an amazing guitar player and you get out there, get your name out there, and, you know, people see you on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, that opens up a whole world of possibilities as far as like collaboration with maybe somebody wants to hire you from Brazil or something to do a session on their record, and they can pay you via PayPal and, you know, whatever. It's just, you know, it's the sky's the limit, sort of, as far as just, you know, you can make your own way these days. What do I think about the MXR Super Badass Distortion? I tried it ages ago and I don't really remember, so I'm sorry. Thoughts about the Power Stage 170? Looks really cool. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks like a useful thing for sure. As far as like a simple, small, you know, you could use it with a preamp, or Power Stage 170 is a Seymour Duncan power amp, I believe so. I think it's Seymour Duncan, right? And it's like a, you know, small power amp that you can use to, you know, amplify a preamp or amplify a pedal or a modeler. Really useful. Let's see. Slush and IR sale ends today. That's right, they're probably having a sale. What are my favorites other than the greenbacks? The creamback M's are nice if you like the greenback but you want a little warmer sound. And the creamback H's. I would say those are my three favorites: creamback H, creamback M, and the greenbacks. And then I use the blues, you know, in the classic Vox kind of thing in a 212 for clean sounds a lot. Like an open back. If you got the open back 212, or I'm not sure how they sell them, but I would get just the blues, the H's, creamback M's, and greenbacks, and you got it kind of covered. Who fell asleep first at GitCon? Phil X or Henning? I think I fell asleep before any of those guys. I was sleeping against the wall, like in the, you know, when they're doing the chat and all that. I was just so jet lagged and tired. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, I see what you're saying, Jennifer. Okay. You're telling people to hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that on the video. Thank you. Got it. Have I tried Tyler guitars? Not a lot, no. I've picked them up a couple times. They seem super nice, but I haven't messed with them a lot. I don't see them a lot that much anymore. I don't know where you get them. Maybe LA Vintage has them. Not sure. Okay. Let's see. Sir Riot Reloaded, great high gain pedal. I think it's a great pedal. Yeah, it's a terrific sounding high gain distortion pedal. Has a really cool kind of like the Riot Reloaded has a little bit more of a maybe a Marshally thing going on than the original Riot, which is just kind of like fat modern distortion. What would I look for in a drummer if I was starting a band now? Somebody that doesn't play too many fills. Somebody that just plays groove really great. Well, fills are all right, but drummers is a weird. I've had the good fortune to play with some really, really amazing drummers, and and so I'm really spoiled when it comes to drummers. I tried touring with Kurt Biscara for a year. That'll set a new bar as far as, you know, feel and groove, and plus he's a great guy. But yeah, I like drummers that are just, you know, really solid and super groovy. The guys that focus on the groove. My friend Matt Logg, who's an incredible drummer, he has a drum head that that his friends got him for his birthday, like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, and it looks like the Miller Lite logo, and it says Matt Logg on it, but Miller Lite style, and then in the bottom it says "Great taste, less fills," and that's how Matt plays. Not that he doesn't have chops, because he does for days, but at some point he just decided groove was his thing, and so he's got this fat, wide, incredible rock and roll groove, and it looks like he's not even playing, like he's just sitting there like this, and the sound coming out of the drums is like boom, crack, like he just has power in his wrists, and he looks like he's not even trying. It's incredible. Drummers think, you know, I can't hit a drum like that and make it sound like I can't, I don't play drums, but it's like they develop this technique where they can make a snare drum sound like it's exploding without looking like they're doing much. I find that really fascinating. Let's see here. Somebody's saying they were curious about the Emmy in the background of the Instapic I put up. Oh, that's what my friend Dave's plays. He's a composer and singer, and won Emmys for, I guess, composition on television shows and stuff like that. Okay. Ron says got an SG with a mini humbucker in the bridge and a P90 in the neck. Yeah, that can be a cool combo. P90s in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge is cool too. Yogi, while we were touring with Chris Cornell, he had and I actually did it in my guitar for a while too. He had a P94 in the neck and then a humbucker in the bridge. It was a nice combo. Get a lot of tones out of that in a Les Paul. Caveman says the Sur SL68 pretty much won the tone battle. Yeah, it wasn't even really like a fair fight in some ways, because one amp doesn't have that bright cap on it and the other ones did, and they have a unique sound too. Like, it was funny because I did those clips, and then in going back and listening, sort of when I was playing the Billy Squier riff or whatever I was playing on the 69 amp, that had a really amazing sound. And it is Plexies are funny because they can be, it's not like this warm, gooey, amazing, like I'm talking about lead spec ones. They can be like abrasive or aggressively like, whoa, it's over the top. But then after you get away from the tone for a minute, maybe you recorded it and you come back and you listen to it again, it's like, oh, it sounds amazing in its aggressiveness, you know, and it's just brash, you know. And so there's a thing with them where it's like, you know, that crazy sound and that crazy over the top kind of top end and aggressiveness and stuff is part of like rock and roll, and some of the best guitar sounds that were ever created. So although it can be a little aggressive, like when you're playing it or when you're playing it in the room, the way it translates into classic recordings and stuff like that is kind of undeniable. When you get a tone that's like too smooth and too you know, for a certain style of music, I mean, like if it sounds too perfect while you're just playing it by itself, then when the band kicks in, it's like, whoa, where'd my guitar go? It kind of disappeared. It's like sometimes you need that craziness in the top end and that aggressive, you know, aggressively bright thing. As soon as the bass player kicks in, as soon as the drummer starts laying into the cymbals, it's like it sort of masks a lot of the sound, and then sometimes to slot into your frequency, you need that. That's what I'm getting at. Bernie says he's wondering if I'm a fan of Jason Faulkner. I love Jason. I mean, that guy's a genius. I haven't seen it. I used to know him and see him around town a lot. And he's like the kind of the classic, like, never ages, you know, always looks the same. I think the last time I saw him was like 8 years ago or something like that. But he's a really, really amazing musician. Let's see, and you're saying too that you sometimes hear some of his melodic elements in my playing. I appreciate that. That's a nice. I'll take that as a nice compliment. He's terrific. What kind of? This is a good question. What kind of distortion or overdrive box sounds good into an AC30? It can be hard sometimes to find a good pedal for an AC30, especially if you want to go into the top boost channel. So normal channel top boost is very different depending. like the Plexitone, the original Carl Martin Plexitone, I remember getting an amazing sound plugging that into the normal, the darker channel of an AC30 because it's got a bright, sizzly sound to it. So if you want to go into the normal channel, try the Carl Martin Plexitone. Sounds great into an AC30. Now, if you want to go in the top boost side, it's a little bit different and a little bit more difficult. I would say try the Atomic Overdrive from, what are they called? XTS. Yeah, good company. They make nice overdrive pedals. The Atomic Overdrive, I've got a demo on my channel I did like 8 years ago or something. It's really great. That could work well into the normal channel, I think. Or, sorry, into the top boost channel, I meant. Any hint on the next amp in the zone subject? Well, I want to do a Fender one where I do, John Suhr has a super reverb with really nice Alnico speakers in it that I've asked if I can borrow. So I thought it'd be nice to do like it's a 60s one. I thought it'd be great to do a super reverb and my Bassman in one. And then I thought, the Comet, the Vox, and maybe try and get an old AC30 for the Vox one. I have some nice, like I have my AC15 hand-wired, which sounds really good, but it'd be nice to find an old example of the Vox. And I also have a divided by 13 RSA 31. That's Vox style, I guess. Is it a 33? I can't remember, but it's his AC30 style. Pedalboard update. Yeah, I mean, it's almost, well, that's from Stevie Ray Vaughan. Well, he's coming back to visit me in my chat. Pedalboard update. Okay, so yeah, it's getting there. It's almost done. I think it'll be done probably in a week or something, right, Dave? Is Dave still here? I think he's gone. I got to wrap it up pretty soon, but I'm going to take a few more. Hi from Orlando. With regard to the Thornbucker, considering one for the bridge in my semi-hollow PRS, do I think it will blend well with the stock neck pickup? It's hard to say. I think so. The main thing I hear about the PRSs is the pickups seem to be darker than the Thornbuckers, so like especially the neck version. So just kind of depends what you want. Austin says, have I listened to Jimmy Herring? I haven't that much. I'd love to see Jimmy. I know he did that band with Landau, right? And seems like it'd be really fun to see those guys together. But I don't know his playing really well, I have to say. So he's another guy I got to discover. That's from Austin. Gotta find some time to check him out and listen. Hello from Bordeaux. I love Bordeaux. What's up, Jerome? He's in Sweden. Are the Doug Aldrich pickups hotter than mine? Yes, Doug Aldrich humbuckers are quite a bit hotter than mine. Let's see here. Rick Graham is amazing. Yes, he is. He's so incredible. He's ridiculous. Okay. Jam Cave Studio says that course I'm going to do, will it be available to watch online? Maybe give us more info on this. So I think you're talking about the clinics that I'm going to do in Canada pretty soon, in like less than 2 weeks, I think. So with the online thing, I want to not do it online initially. Number one, I kind of want to get out and meet people. Just kind of like, see people in person, go out and do something that's not the internet for a change. Probably eventually, yes. I'd like to, live stream it or something like that. But initially, I think it kind of kills the idea of the clinic if you just live stream it, right? Then it's like, well, why would anybody want me to go to their town and do it if they can just watch? Kind of, it's like this computers and the internet and stuff. And everybody's staying home, like watching TV and not going out to the movies anymore. But there's something cool about going out and, getting out of the house, right? So that was my thinking with the clinics, that I don't really want to, this particular version of like this thing I want to do with the clinic, I kind of want to go to places and do it and not just make it like an online thing. But eventually it would make sense, I guess, to after a little while, it's like, yeah, well, we'll probably film it or live stream one of them. Also, there's the pressure of like, this is going to be the first time I've tried to do something like this, and it's nerve-wracking thinking about it being, live streamed or whatever. And it's like there's some technical stuff. I'm sitting there like, it's not just, well, let me show you some licks or whatever. It's like I have to physically actually record and mix a song, and you're arming tracks and like moving faders around and pulling up EQs or whatever, doing things like that. So I want to make sure that it goes smoothly. and that it's you know, I got to work the kinks out essentially. So you know, I'm looking forward to doing that. Doug Aldrich pickups are way hotter, about 8K. Actually, I think they're like 18K. I think it's like 17K, something like that. But they don't sound. John somehow did something with them where they don't like sound just like mid bombs. The Aldrich pickups have. There's still clarity to them. I have one guitar with them in them. But yeah, way hotter than the Thornbuckers. Like other end of the spectrum, really. Have I tried a Seymour Duncan hot rail on the bridge of a Strat? Never owned one. No, not really like a rail hot pickup kind of person, I don't think. Kind of the opposite of what I do. Like I sort of like more vintage output pickups, and especially in a Strat, I like a Strat to sound like a Strat, really. I would probably be more apt to try the little 59 or something. Any suggestions for sound proofing or dampening in studio, placement tips and materials? Yeah, there's a company called ATS Acoustics. ATS. So just do a Google search, you'll find it. They sell panels and bass traps and stuff, and they've got a nice website that sort of shows you plans, and they've got different kits you can order for your room. Soundproofing is a whole nother level. This is more like sound control in a home studio, like controlling reflections and things like that. When it comes to soundproofing, there's no way to really soundproof a room without it getting expensive. You know, building a room within a room and that kind of thing. But if you want to tune a room and tame some reflection and, you know, get some bass traps and panels and stuff like that, check out ATS. Let's see here. Am I going to put out the song on the Sir PT100 demo video? If you mean the original one, I think it's just available for download from the Sir site, unless it's not there anymore, which is possible. But we used to just give it away. You know, that it was like a thing that you could just download from their site. It was like a free download. Okay. Cole says, hope to shake your hand someday. I'd love to buy you a drink. Cheers. That would be cool. Have I ever tried flat wound strings? Only a little bit. Not really my thing for rock and roll, but nice on bass for certain sounds for sure. Flat wounds or ground wounds can be really cool. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple more questions and then I got to run. We've got 360 people online, which is rad. Let's see. After your Marshall shootout, would you stick with the SL68 if I just had to pick one? Yes, I would. It's a great all-around. You can always add the bright cap and get the sounds of the other amps. The SL68 is like most of John's things. What he's done is taken the classic designs that we love and then moved them forward and made them more reliable. And, you know, certainly with his guitars and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's like all the problems are fixed. And the SL68, it's a lot like that. It's going to be a reliable. You know, obviously it sounds amazing, right? Like it sounds amazing in that video. Gives you all the tone that you can get. You know, there's not some magic. Like, well, there's a little magic to the old amps. There's something magical about them. But I believe, like, for, you know, all intents and purposes, it's like you can nail that old Marshall thing or whatever in a new amp, and it's going to be more reliable and all that stuff than the old ones. The old ones smell good though. Okay, Joe says, thanks for doing these videos. They're helpful. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining. Power supply. Are you talking about maybe a pedal power supply? So I'm using Dave Friedman's new power supplies on my new board. So it's the first time I've used them. So they look really cool. And the cool thing about them is they're switching. So they're switching power supplies. So you can plug anything from 100 to 240 into them. So in theory, I should be able to take my pedal board, you know, to Europe or to Japan or the States or whatever, and just plug it in without needing to use any kind of step up or down transformer. So that's really cool. Okay. Oh, this is going way back to when I got coffee. I see, God, I'm so far back in the chat. People are saying, where'd you go? Where'd you get coffee? Let's see. Somebody's asking about Michael Brits presets for the Helix. Yeah, I haven't tried them yet. Michael is great though, and he's got great ears, and his Kemper stuff is a must-have. If you guys have a Kemper and you haven't tried Michael Brits presets, I'm sure you probably have, but or profiles, he's done great stuff. Okay, moving down a little bit further. What do I do? This is a great question from Chile. What do I do when I find myself stuck in a rut, lacking ideas and inspiration? There's a bunch of different things you can do. Listen to some different music. Just pull up iTunes or whatever and just, like, you know, put on a playlist or something and listen to some stuff. And it can be things you've never heard before or things that you rely on for inspiration. Drum grooves. I always say this, but like if you're sitting there trying to write and you can't come up with anything, pull up a drum groove of some, like use a Easy Drummer or Apple Drummer, Logic Drummer, whatever it's called, and just put on a groove in maybe a different tempo than if you're sitting there playing and you're in a rut. The chances are you're probably like in a certain groove or tempo, and you're just like, oh, I can't come up with anything. Put on something that's way faster or way slower or in different time signature. Put on a 6/8 groove or something like that to pull you out of whatever you were doing. And those are good tricks, I think. Yeah. Steven says, thanks for suggesting DistroKid. That was the easiest thing ever. It is, isn't it? It's a really good service. I mean, $20 and you can upload music all year long for $20, and it's so fast and easy. They are doing a good thing. If you want to, release some music, check out DistroKid. Any thoughts on a Sur PT lunchbox head? I can't talk about that right now, but I'll tell you this. Moving forward with amplifiers, because we've been thinking about doing more amps for years. My goal is to make something that gives all the like Kempers and stuff like that a run for its money, because there's something about those things that people, there's an ease to them. It's just simple to pick up. And I mean, I use mine at sessions because it's easy. It's small. I can pick it up and take it. It's like, and I can plug it into a cabinet if I want. Mine's got the little power amp in it. So I think with guitar amps, people are looking for more these days. They don't want as much weight. They want more versatility, but you don't want to make it like difficult to use. So, what if you had an amp that's just like super simple to use, but you can get a ton of tones out of, and allows you to do things like record, allows you to do things like, run into a cabinet if you want to, or not, like all that stuff. So that's what I'm thinking about, like moving forward, is like, how do you make the tube amp version of, what people like about modeling and simplistic, the devices for, so I don't mean they're simple. The Kemper's not simple. What am I getting at? It's like there's something about it that it's like the one-stop shop, right? It's very simple to just pick up and take to a session or whatever, and yet it offers a lot of versatility and good tone. So it's like, how do we make a tube amp that, maybe sounds even better, that gives you some of that versatility and also is light and all that. Let's see. Somebody says I should grow a beard. I used to have one 2 years ago. If you watch my videos from like 2013. I grow a weird beard, man. It's like I can't really grow a good beard. I don't grow sideburns, so it's real thick down here, and then it's like nothing here. So it just, I don't know, it's not the best beard. Amp tweaker pedals, have I tried them? No, but I've heard them. The other guitar player in Tyoshi Nagabuchi's band, Ichiro, he used an amp tweaker pedal, the Marshally one, on the last run. We were just doing good pedals. I think James Brown, not I Feel Good James Brown, but James Brown, that originally was at Peavey and helped design the 5150 as well as the classic amps and stuff like that. I think he's amp tweaker. Pretty sure. Okay. Any advice on motivation to play? Just haven't been enjoying playing much recently. I don't know. That can be a tough one. You go through phases where it's like, maybe trying some different, like I say, go to Jam Track Central or something, look at some of the courses they've got, and see if any of that resonates with you. Oh, I'm running out of battery on my computer. I guess that means it's probably time to wrap it up. I'll do like 8, I gotta get the adapter for my computer, just 1 second. Alrighty, get some power going here. This Wirecast program, I mean, I got a brand new computer here, and I started out with full battery, and it's completely drained the battery in a little over an hour, and the fan's running on the computer, so I don't know about this program. It really seems like taxing on the computer. More amps in the zone EL84s. Well, definitely I want to do the Vox amps, so I'll do my AC15 and try and. I've got a couple friends with old AC30s, and I want to explore that, see if I can borrow one. Have I tried the new Supro reissues? No, I haven't, but I actually kind of really want one. Those amps just seem great. All their pedals are awesome. The tremolo is amazing, and the boost, and they're doing really good stuff right now, Supro folks. And that amp would be something totally different than anything I have. A little Supro combo, so I kind of like to get one. Okay, sorry, I'm going to skip through here and just do. I'm doing about 6 or 5 more minutes of questions here, and then I got to run. Have I gotten any new guitar amps recently? Well, I got the old Marshall, the 72 Marshall, and I got the Macmull T, which is unbelievable. Well, somebody's asking about that in the right below. So the Macmull is it's made out of old growth wood, and that's kind of their thing, I guess, is they're trying to do like the vintage thing, make guitars that sound like they're vintage. And listen to I'm going to put up a video today, this afternoon, for the new Tumnus Deluxe pedal, and right out of the gate you'll hear it. I'm using the middle position sound is unbelievable on that guitar. So I'm playing a rhythm part in the middle position, and that's the song that starts the video. You'll hear that sound. The first guitar part in the song is the middle position, and it is just like a ferocious sounding. So much of the wood quality comes through. People don't think that wood affects tone. They're crazy, because like, listen to this guitar and like how snarly it sounds in the middle, and the guitar like just resonates like crazy, loud as can be, acoustically, and all that tone comes through the pickups. So anyway, it's a really, really beautiful guitar, and it just has such a great kind of ballsy, snarly, full and yet clear sound. So I'll put up that video today. I don't know if I'll have it up by 2, actually. Probably by 3 Pacific time should be up. Let's see. Do a Thorn Bucker versus other Buckers like the Seymour JB. I think you're saying for a video. Well, JB's so different. JB's a great pickup. It's a classic. It's got a great rock and roll tone. A lot of mids though, but they're great for solos. JBs have a cool rock sound for sure. I used a JB in one of my first really good guitars is a Jackson that I still have. That is basically like a Charvel. It's a bolt-on. Two humbucker Floyd Rose situation, and that guitar is an old JB in the bridge, 80s one. That sounds great. Let's see. Oh man, so I'm way back to the Jason Faulkner question, and I don't know why the chat skips around like this. It's really frustrating. I got to answer the YouTube. It says, how does, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you like YouTube streaming? I got to answer and give some feedback, because I hate how this thing skips around. I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer everybody's questions, but all of a sudden I come back to it and it's like way back and then I'm answering old questions. All right, I'll stop bitching. What's my opinion of super leads with 6550s? I haven't messed with 6550s much. I know that they're known to be sort of louder, cleaner, brasher than EL34s, less mids and stuff like that, but it's not something that I'm really familiar with. It just doesn't. It seems to be like not really the sound that Marshalls are known for, if you know what I mean. The EL34 thing is kind of the, that's why, it's like, this is, nobody's using 6550s now that I know of. And just my mental sort of what I think of 6550s is like my mental image of what they are is like loud and brash and not as pleasant. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Now, a good set of 6 CA7s is another thing I'd love to. I've messed with those a little bit and heard them. They're sort of, they have a little bit more of that like somewhere between the 6L6 and the L34 kind of thing. Do I know any guitar teachers in Calgary with a similar style to yours? I don't. I spent so much, like, so little time in Canada lately. I don't really have a you know, great knowledge of the guitar players up there and stuff anymore. Somebody's asking about the picture behind me. Yeah, that's making Keith making Exile on Main Street, doing vocals at Sunset Sound. It's a Jim Marshall, actually. Jim, before he passed away, I bought that from a friend of mine, Jason Sutter. He said, you know, I can get you a Marshall if you want him. And he's friends. He was friends with Jim Marshall. He's friends with a lot of the big rock photographers. He loves rock photography and art. And he said, I could get you a Marshall for a really good price if you want, but you got to tell me now, like, and you can pay me back or whatever. And he was seeing Jim or something in San Francisco, and I was like, yeah, man, like, whatever, like the Hendrix one, where he's, you know, got his arm up, or this one, you know, you know. And so he got me that, and I was like, perfect. And then Jim passed away like about 6 months later or something like that. So it was really cool that I was able to get that because it's a signed one. Okay, do I use volume pedals? Yes. On my new board, I'm using a small Boss volume pedal, low impedance, and I'm going to run it in the effects loop of the amp, which will be a first for me. But looking forward to that. You know, I've always had the volume pedal in front of the amp, so it's like another volume control of the guitar where it cleans up when you roll back. Now this is going to be an effects loop, so like the advantage to that is you can, you know, have most of the tone of my amp is generated in the preamp, really. So. So now I can, you know, say at a rehearsal or something like that, you're playing loud or whatever, you know, it's always like I can never roll back and just practice in a band rehearsal. Now I can use the volume pedal, like roll way down, but it'll still have the distortion from the preamp of my amp. So I'm excited about that. Okay. Mario says 1,000 times yes to my amp idea. I think you're saying like my new idea for like making them, you know, yeah, smaller, lighter, powerful, simple, but yet like you could plug it in and record with it, or you plug it into a cabinet, or like all that good stuff, you know. So that's really the way that I think amps are going. If people are still going to continue to use tube amps, they want them to be, you know, like a competitor to the modeling stuff. You know, there's an ease of use with the modeling gear, and you know, just a simplicity to, you know, everything's all in one and all that stuff, and you can, you know, plug it in, record it, or use it live. People want that out of amplifiers now. I think they don't just want like a big loud 100-watt. I mean, that's still super cool, but it's like, you know, if we're getting real about what people need on the gig here, you know, if you're doing, you know, fly gig, you know, like I literally, you know, I did a gig with the Kemper recently where it flew and I had it in the bag. I thought, God, what if you had an amplifier? You could put it in a little carry bag, put it over your shoulder, and take it on a plane, or just easily, you know, it would be cool, right? So, yeah. Eric says you remind me that I remind him of Landau in his younger years. Great feel and songwriting. Man, Mike is like my hero. So I appreciate you saying that. I go see Mike and I walk out of there dumbfounded. I mean, like, I don't even know what instrument that was. I just saw that's an instrument I don't even play. Like, when I watch him play, that's what I feel like. So I think he's the best guitar player on earth. I really do. If I had to pick one, you know, I think he's better than anybody. It's like he's talking through the guitar, you know, like, and he's got a connection with the whatever, you know. I've just never seen anybody so pure, like musically, that just is coming up with ideas, and it doesn't seem like anything's planned, and yet his vocabulary is huge. So it's surreal. Anybody that's seen him live, you have to see him live. You can't just listen to him on records. Something about Mike, it's like, and I can imagine probably Hendrix was like that stuff too, but it's like Eddie Van Halen, you can get from the recordings somehow. And then you see him live and you're blown away too. It's like, yeah, but it's something about Mike where it's like you kind of have to see it live to go, oh, holy shit. Like, you know, it's just not the same when it's like at lower volume and sort of, you know, distilled down through computer speakers or whatever, or just a CD or whatever. I think he's amazing like that too. But there's something about going to see him live that actually becomes like almost like a guitar religious experience. That's what I think about Mike. I really do. He's just like, it's shocking, you know, how good that guy is. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a great question about Sir. Alan says, what is John Sir best at, and who does he rely on for other things? You talk about John's expertise, but I can't imagine he can be an expert at pedals, guitars, amps without help. The reality is, that guy knows more about guitars and amps than anybody I've ever met in my life. So he's kind of a genius. He's like really genius level aptitude for, you know, learning new things as well. But just the things he knows about guitars and amps, there's nobody I've ever met that's like him. And then pedals is like easy beyond that. But he really is yeah, and he's a perfectionist. So it's like the thing about John is he can look at a guitar or look at an amplifier. He'll look at it inside an old Marshall or something, and you know, he's described it to me before that he just wants to, he looks at it and he's like, he just wants to rebuild it. Because he's like, oh God, like I could do that so much better. You know, he's like looking at the wiring and stuff like that. And, but both he and his son are kind of geniuses. His son's, you know, an electrical engineer and works for a company now, and he's designing crazy pedals and stuff. Like he just did the Alexa Chorus, and you know, he also worked on the what's it called, the Ace cabinet emulator, and he's always designing new things and stuff like that. And he has a real interest. John's son has a real interest in like electronic music and analog circuits, you know, like analog synths. And so we were just talking about that the other day. So he's kind of coming at it from another, you know, another thing. And he's very, you know, he's a younger guy, so he's like 23 or something. So it's like he's got a foot in kind of like, you know, what's happening now musically, and you know, they're a great team together. So, but yeah, dude, he really is that smart about guitars and amps. He's sure he relies on other people for certain things. Like for instance, when we were doing MIDI in the PT100 head, he had a great Bob Walker to help design the, you know, the board for the PT100, the MIDI circuit and stuff like that to do, because that's not John's, you know, it's more like tube amps and guitars and stuff like that. It's his thing. So when he's got to look to somebody else to do certain things, but he could figure it out on his own if he had time. So, okay, do I know if I'm, oh, that's a question for somebody else about NAMM. Okay, I gotta get going, guys, but I'm gonna take like 2 more here. Summit Robert says, I'd love a PT100, but I just don't need 100 watts. I hear you. That's, neither do I, really, anymore. So, we're working on that, definitely. You know, I really think 50 is a nice number, wattage-wise, but, you know, obviously there's demand for even smaller amps than that. So, and I would like the smaller amp than even the 50 watt for most things these days, to be honest. Is less more, or is more more? Depends on what we're talking about. What's my favorite reverb pedal? Bunch of different ones out there. As far as a simple one goes, I really love the little MXR, the M300. It sounds amazing. George Trips did it. Try that little guy. For a more complex, you know, it's hard to beat the Big Sky, although I don't even have one, but I've tried it. It's awesome. And then I use H9, which is terrific too. Some great reverbs in there. And the new Hall of Fame from TC, which I just did 2 tone prints for. I just used it the other day on my record. Actually, it sounds great. Okay. Okay. I think I gotta be done, but let's see. Somebody's asking me about thoughts on Synergy. Haven't really tried it that much, but it's a cool idea. I especially like the idea of being able to add an extra channel to my channel switching, or to my amplifiers, you know, via the effects loop. I think that's a really cool thing about the Synergy concept. I think neat things about it, you know, I was a fan of the Randall modular stuff. I still have an M4 Egnager preamp. It's designed by Egnager, and it works really good. So the modular thing's pretty cool. And okay, so last question. Preston says, new album soon. Yes, I mean by the end of the day, I'm going to work on it in a couple hours here, and then I really want to have 3 songs done today, complete, finished. And the good news is it kicks ass. I think like I'm really happy with the way it's coming out. It took 3 rough mixes in the car the other day, and one song I just had to finish a solo on, but I did a mix anyway and popped it out and listened in the car. And I was like, this is kicking ass. So it's sounding really good, I think, and I'm super excited about it. So yeah, by the 15th of December, I want to have 7 songs done, and then the first week of January, I want to cut 3 more. This is ambitious, but then get it in for mastering. Excuse me, put it out by NAMM. That's my goal. And just get it up and out. So DistroKid will help with that to get it done quickly and get it out because it's so easy to do now. CDs, I might start a mailing list or something for like you know, get an email going and see what the interest is in CDs, how many people want a CD. I don't think I won't be able to get it on CD initially in time for the release, but if there's a demand, if like, you know, if 100 people email me and say they want CDs or something like that, I'd be like, all right, so I'll go get some done, and then I'll get them done. Maybe I'll, you know, do something special for the CD or something, sign them all, or like come up with a lesson again or something like something to make it make sense. But if there's a demand for CDs, I will do it. Okay, guys, I gotta get going. And I hope you guys have a good week, and please join me next week. Got a couple videos coming. That one's going to be up today for the Tumnus, and then I'm also going to put out the pedal board first pedal board video this week for the new board, in case you guys are interested in seeing what's going on with that. Kind of cool because you can see Dave working on it, or to see what he does and stuff with his boards, and you know, it's going to be nice. 3 videos in the series to kind of show from the time we rip the old board apart to, you know, when this new one's done, and I'll probably, you know, do a song for the 3rd video showing the different pedals and stuff. Okay, guys, have an awesome week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take it easy.